Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Gungahlin Community Council November public meeting. My name is Henley Samuel, President of Gungahlin Community Council. I would like to acknowledge my executive committee over here. So we got Shah, Michael and Darren. Thank you for joining us. If you're tuning online now, we welcome you as well, and for the people in the room, thank you for coming along. This is the November, that means we are nearing Christmas, and that's that time of the year where everyone is busy and all those things. And I'd like to also apologize for the late start because we've been having some technical difficulties as well. So today we don't have major updates or different speakers, but we want to provide some updates within what's happening in the council, and also about what we are doing with the survey data as well. And we also have an update on the Arabi Pond, the recent lights that's been installed in the Arabi Pond, so we want to go into that as well. And also we want to talk about the next steps on the survey outcome and what we've been doing over the week as well. Before we jump into those ones, so if you're joining for the first time or been following us for a while, as you know, we are migrating to the YouTube, and we see a couple of people, I think a few of you have started subscribing to our YouTube channel. Please continue to do so, as we would predominantly move to the YouTube eventually. Also, the next public meeting will have an AGM as well, so I just want to call out that. So we'll be having our AGM in our December public meeting, and after that we would take a short break in Jan, as per traditionally. Then we'll come back with more details on that, when we're going to come back on GCC and all those things. We'll let you know later. In terms of the survey, what we did last week, or during the few weeks or so, we worked along with the survey, and with an outcome, we met Andrew Lay. He's he's our local member of parliament. So we had an appointment with Andrew Lay, and we've been to his office, and we were able to walk through the survey, and thanks to him for giving us the opportunity to run through this survey. So we've gone through some of the key elements that people would like to see in Gungahlin, including the road duplicates, some of the health facilities, and the key things about the employment, bringing employment to Gungahlin. So in terms of bringing employment to Gungahlin, as you all know, as most of you know, as per the survey data, we know that 90% go and work outside Gungahlin, which means we don't have enough job opportunities happening in Gungahlin. So as part of the data we have, it is a very solid data. It shows that 10% probably work in Gungahlin region. So now, how do you convert the data into a workable element? So that's where we went in at a chat. We gave a couple of options. One of the options, as everyone would have predicted, could be bringing one of those federal agency over here. As you know, some of the other districts like Tuggeranong and Belconnen and Woodin, they all have a big major employment base of the federal organisation. So the one thing we were discussing with him about bringing something similar to that. So that's one of those items. And also with Andrew Lay, we were talking about, okay, there could be other options as well, not just depending purely on bringing the federal employment here. It would be good to have, but also for him to look into the other options, how to bring investment into the Gungahlin region. So we talked about any any new opportunities or new kind of business venues that they could support or subsidize, so that would attract. We also propose it'd be good to create Gungahlin as check. Sorry guys, looks like the sound has stopped. We're just gonna change to the Mevo audio, or maybe I'll just change to a different one. Just give me a minute. Okay, let's see whether this is gonna work. Yeah, cool. Yeah, sorry about that. So we got the sound disconnected, so now we can change the sound to a different one. So this one works. So we were talking about some kind of health facilities in Gungahlin, and we told him to work on that as well. So that's one of the items that we taught. Next one, we talked about the infrastructure to see any possibility of getting a federal funding in terms of helping the Gungahlin needed infrastructure. One of, as you all know, the biggest roundabout with the lights near Craze, that's one of the pain point been for a long time, and we were saying, okay, it could be a great opportunity for using a federal funding to upgrade those roads, maybe a flyover and those kind of things, because during the construction stage of this roundabout, I think some of you remember, me and Darren was there, we actually asked them the questions about how long that that roundabout with light gonna work for. They predicted maybe 5 years or something like that.
Maximum of 10.
Yeah, maximum of 10. I think we almost passed that area, ages past the 10 years of that life cycle. So now it needs to an upgrade. It also helped the people and not just connecting, not just living in Gungahlin, it's also helped people in the Belconnen because it's connecting like a bridge. Also, people coming from the interstate, this will also be helpful. So we talked about that, but looks like the way the federal funding happens for the roads, it's based on the preference given by the ACT government. So if the ACT government going to put that in the top 5 or top 4, then the funding would be allocated. So we want to, keep iterating that to the ACT government as well to make sure this is addressed. Because most times you would have seen as part of the accident survey data and stuff, this comes as a top 5 in Canberra. So we talked about that. So we talked about health, we talked about the employment, and we talked about the infrastructure. Is there anything else we talked about, Darren, that you can remember?
Crime.
Yeah, the crime. Again, the crime is the hot topic in Gungahlin. And as soon the winter overs, the crime comes up, and the crime is a kind of a very pain point, and it's been again and again people communicated to us, and that's what the survey data tells us as well. People like to see more policing presence and stuff. It also have a the problem. It's not just the root cause of the problems are so much happening in the community. It's why would people do crime, and what's the reason behind it, why it's increasing during the summer, or in few years' time, why it's increasing, what's happening with the youth, what's happening in the region. So if you see there's kind of a domino effect, and you just need to address the root problem along with this one. The first thing, as part of the mitigation, we just need to see police presence. That is the key thing, and make sure the police resourcing are up to date. That would help to start with. Yeah. Yeah. So which, so basically, if we in terms of the crime. Also legalizing illegal drugs, it's not going to help, and it's not helping as well. And so you see most of the times in Bono or Moncrief, all these issues, and I see and raids happens on drugs and all those things. So it's all so many things happening, and I think a couple of things we need to do as a community as well. We need to make sure there are facilities for the youth that government build, and how we can improve that. Also to support them, and also to see the police and how we can support the local business, because most of the time they are impacted with the crime as well. So we talked about the the employment one, which we covered at the beginning, and security and all those things. So next step in terms of this one, I hope these will be converted by the ministry into actionable items, and we get some kind of federal support with this one. And the next step is to engage with the ACT government. We also send a copy of the survey and the data to all those local Arabi MLAs, and I also expecting opposition parties to do what they need to do, looking and listening to the locals and raising those questions, and also the Arabi MLAs to make sure they address anything. So if possible, it depends on the timing and stuff. I know this is kind of a very crazy time of the year. We would like to meet those MLAs, and if possible, the Chief Minister as well, to let them know about what's the survey and what's the people of Gungahlin needed. And there are some developments as well happening around Gungahlin. As you know, there was a Gungahlin 2030. So make sure you go and do that, and the survey questions that they are doing in terms of the questions about the projects and stuff. So make sure let your voice be heard on that one. So what we're gonna do next, before I come back, I'm gonna invite Darren to talk about the Arabi updates on the lights around the Arabi Pond, and walk us through on the latest update and around any developments on any recent development around the region as well. Yeah, Darren, thank you. This is not working. This comes from the iPad.
Thanks, Henley. So first I'd like to just address the support from the Gungahlin Community Council in relation to what we've seen in support for Yarrabee Pond and the developments that are happening there. So behind me, which is important to have a look at, and I'll point to it just so that it's a little bit easier to sort of understand. As you can see, the orange area. Yeah, the orange area that we can see along here. This lighting was announced last year, and the funding has been allocated, and that's actually been quite successful. So along this area here, there were some solar lights that were positioned there, and some fixed lights were actually put in along here. And along Mirabai Drive here, they essentially put in the existing lighting that was on the roadway, but essentially put some lights on the other side of those existing lights in order to light up the pathway here. That was quite dark. And I think along here, essentially, this is where you've also got the skate park, is in this area here. So probably other things to note that you can't really see because it's sort of blocked out there is there was quite a swamp that was existing in this area as well. There was some issues in relation to drainage, and TCCS have come along and actually fixed that existing problem, which is really good. Essentially what that's doing is it's expanding the usable space at Yarrabee Pond, which I think is a positive thing. But one of the big issues that we've sort of had in relation to the lighting is this area along here particularly, and up along here. So in those areas, what was highlighted during the Yorsay was that this particular area was particularly dark. It's an area that when you walk along there is heavily treed, and during the Yorsay, various people who utilised Yarrabee Pond would often say they wouldn't go anywhere near there at night, just due to the fact that it was quite troubling for a lot of people. So that was highlighted very early on in the Yorsay in relation to lighting in that area. But the problem is obviously the lighting upgrades that are quite good didn't really affect this area here. And there's also another area which is called Easter Island, which is up here, that's actually quite dark as well. So those two areas were of particular concern to the Friends of Yarrabee Pond. And I do thank the Gungahlin Community Council because it was part of the budget submission from 2021-22 that the Gungahlin Community Council put forward that we needed some extra lighting around Yarrabee Pond. That was then budgeted for. What's happening at the moment is there's been a recent announcement from TCCS and City Services in relation to more funding, essentially, to fill in this area along here, up into what they call the gym equipment. So the gym equipment is kind of in this area here, to put that into perspective, and Easter Island here. So this area here will be fixed as well. So that's really good announcement to have for Yarrabee Pond, to actually have the missing links essentially of lighting. So that's a culmination of, I think, about 10 years worth of advocation in order to have lighting around Yarrabee Pond. So it'd be nice to, as I often like to say, it's nice to actually draw a line under that particular item. There are some other issues that are ongoing. particularly in some areas around here. So around this spot here, and particularly these areas here and here, often what happens is those are areas where, because Yarrabee Pond is not a natural lake, it's obviously man-made, there's no inflows, direct inflows, and there's no major outflows of Yarrabee Pond that make it easy for material like ribbonweed and that sort of thing to actually make it out of the ponds. So what happens is you get this big mass of ribbonweed that accumulates in these areas, and it's pretty unsightly. We used to have a lot of problems up here in relation to ribbonweed as well, but these are the areas where they actually have the floating wetlands, and it seems to have made some measure of a difference in relation to it. From my perspective, from just what I've noticed is that wherever the ribbonweed accumulates, that's generally where the algae tends to grow in the pond. So if you have little islands of sort of ribbonweed floating around, what ends up happening is that you end up with algae growth, and then you end up with almost the entire pond just covered in slime and algae, essentially, which is not very good. It smells, and as I said, it's not really good for the pond. It's not really good for the people that visit there. It has been cleaned out in previous, it's particularly bad in some locations along here and along here, just in these areas where it sort of accumulates. And it does get cleaned out from time to time. But the problem is that it isn't done on a regular basis. It's just done as needed. I don't know who determines as needed, but it would be nice to actually have the Yarrabee Pond actually cleaned out more regularly. The other thing too is that those areas along there, they have a lot of stormwater that sort of comes in there as well, and so you tend to get a lot of accumulation of that. The other thing is there's a lot of water traps of inflows that actually come from within Gungahlin into Yarrabee Pond, and most of those water inlets, if you actually look at them, are actually all blocked. And so they have been dug out before. They actually need to get some machinery in order to do that. So that comes down to the fact that having regular maintenance at Yarrabee Pond is actually really important, and we're just trying to get a schedule in order for that to be enacted. So everything's pretty good at Yarrabee Pond in relation to that. The other thing is particularly along this side here, the footpaths along there are actually really not in a very good state, and particularly down here, where the children's playground actually meets the road here, there's a lot of tree roots and things like that are going in the path there. It's obviously not good. So we're trying to get them to look at that. The other thing that hasn't really been discussed, Rotary actually wanted to redevelop this BMX track that's here. I know Andrew Ruddick had raised it in the Legislative Assembly whether anything was actually ever going to be done there. It's quite complicated because nobody really knows who built it or who maintains it, and the issue that we have is that we would like the government to recognise the fact that Rotary are actually, they have the plans that they have for that area actually have all been done by engineers. They've had that plan, they've submitted it for funding, and that funding was unfortunately rejected. So we have tried to advocate for them in order to have that track, something being done with it. It was closed for a little while. I had some thoughts that maybe the ACT government might have been sending some engineers in there to maybe look at what might be doing, but it ended up being apparently there's a gas line that was there, and apparently there was some sort of a maybe potential gas leak that really wasn't communicated to the general public in relation to what was sort of going on as to why they put the fencing around there. So things like that we would like to know. But we would like to see something going on there in relation to that bicycle track, and sort of go from there. So that's pretty much a wrap up. There are some things in relation to an article. I just want to show you, there's an article there from the Riot Act. So if you can bring that up. TCCS officials actually reached out to me too to talk about the time frame. And so they'll be doing some work beginning next year. Hopefully we can have somebody from the ACT government actually come in and sort of highlight exactly what's being built and timelines and things like that. But at this particular point, I don't know exactly. I just have a roundabouts where the areas are that are being built. So if we can get the, I think it was a Riot Act article. Yeah. So yeah, things are happening around Yarrabee Pond, which is really good. It's nice to see some things being spent in that area. So if you just, I think it's either scroll up. Scroll up. If you can scroll up on that page, because there's a picture. Right. So the picture's important here because essentially this is what we're looking at. So that's how dark it's in these areas can be. We can obviously see the Geocon towers there in the background. So this is kind of what needs to be addressed. And I can sort of understand why a lot of people really don't feel safe walking around there at night, particularly in really wooded areas are particularly worrisome for people. So this Riot Act essentially was talking about more lighting and also potentially maybe a camera at the children's playground. Because essentially there has been lots of incidents of vandalism, unfortunately, in those areas. So it is unfortunate when we're spending money in order to upgrade these facilities, but from my perspective, the lighting in this area creates what we've heard many times with developments where they talk about passive surveillance. So you have these towers essentially that are overlooking onto these areas here, but unfortunately, passive surveillance doesn't work when you can't actually see anything that's going on here. So, so part and parcel of passive surveillance is that ability to be able to see things. And I've actually met with a few residents that are actually living in those apartments, and they've been talking about some nefarious activities essentially that have been going on down here that are difficult to sort of highlight if people are not able to see in this particular area. So. Points for the ACT government for implementing that, and we'll be looking at apparently that coming on stream next year. Yarrabee Pond is particularly a difficult area in order to run electrical cables and things like that. Anybody lives in this actual area, but the ground is quite hard, it's quite rocky, and it might take a considerable, maybe they might take longer than what they've predicted that it might take due to factors such as having to dig into the hard rock and clay. So that's pretty much a wrap up from me, and thanks to the Friends of Yarrabee Pond, a group that I'm a member of, and the Gungahlin Community Council, because that's quite successful, and that's with the advocacy of Friends of Yarrabee Pond and the GCC. We can put a line under that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Darren. That was very good, and it's good to see some lights up just before Christmas. So just like the lights gonna happen everywhere, so it's good to see Yarrabee Pond will be it's lighting up as well, and also those black spots. I think we will continue to do it, and thank you for you and your the Friends of Yarrabee for doing the great job, and as always, happy to collaborate. And work towards the benefit of the community. So we'll push through and make sure Yarrabee Pond is safe and well equipped and place for families to come and enjoy, relax, and have a good time. And also the incidents that happens around Yarrabee Pond, it's kind of concerning. Hopefully, some of these upgrades to the infrastructure would help. And it's going back to the same issue we were talking about previously about those, the security concern around the region that needs to be, looked in, and measures need to be taken. I think there was the data that you shared. I think the crimes and all those things has gone up. How much was it?
It was 2022 to 2024. I think we had 76 car thefts.
2023 and 24, 73 cars. Yeah. 76 for 24, yeah, that's...
there were some areas that had more, but it is interesting to note that it's more than more than most areas. So Gungahlin is definitely a hotspot. Gungahlin is another hotspot.
Yeah.
Fishwick is another hotspot, but Gungahlin definitely quite significant carp theft.
Yeah, so for people who couldn't hear probably down online, so there's been a significant rise of carp thefts as well happened in Gungahlin in 23-24 period. So we don't have the data for 25, but the data that we're seeing for the last year, it's kind of very high. It's around 70 plus happening, so which is not good. So so in terms of general community safety and stuff, so it's concerning as well. So we'll still continue to work on those ones. And usually we do have an MLA updates when we give an opportunity for MLA to come and speak, and unfortunately we don't have anyone today. We'll keep encouraging our MLAs to come and attend to this one, and I know a lot of politics happening within the politics, so that shouldn't stop community engagement. So please do come and attend these ones. And if you're an apology, if you already sent an apology, it's not for you, for anyone who haven't. So please try to come and do it. And as I said previously, please go into our YouTube and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we do have the newsletters. So if you want to subscribe, do that as well. Before we close off this session today, for next month, as I said, we will have an AGM, and we will make those, update the website based on what we need to do in terms of membership and all those things that needs to happen as part of the AGM. So if you're interested, just tune in for those ones. Other than that, we don't have much for tonight, but please stay up to date. If you haven't liked or subscribed to our things, do so. Thank you so much for joining online in person. We thank you and have a great night. God bless.